Part 43. My Ship Girl, My World. Author, Huangming Muji. Chapter 423. Facing the hand extended by North Carolina, Qin Ji smiled and said, I am Qin Ji, commander of the Star Sea Fleet. I will be a comrade fighting side by side from now on. Please give me your advice. Then he stretched out his hand and shook North Carolina. The two smiled and nodded, getting along fairly well. Li Chenjian said to North Carolina from the side, Commander Qin Ji is a very good commander. Didn't I get you some tactical textbooks before? Those tactical textbooks are Commander Qin Ji's. It was written by him, and he was also the commander-in-chief of the sea battle in Zhenhua City during the Siren Tide last year. North Carolina lightly covered her mouth. Oh, I didn't expect that. Since Commander Qin Ji is so powerful, it seems that future cooperation will be easy. Hearing North Carolina's words, Qin Ji couldn't help but said with embarrassment, perhaps it won't be easy to cooperate in the future, and the task may be more arduous than the previous one. Huh? Why do you say that? North Carolina asked. Qin Ji looked at the smiling Li Chenjian and said to North Carolina, our fleet is a bit unbalanced now. There are now a total of 40 ship girls in my fleet, but except for my fleet, the fleet members now only have 6 or 7 ship girls at most. Most of them are commanders who have just graduated from the Commander Academy or have graduated 1 year ago. The reason why they are like this is because our Star Sea Fleet was created in the Commander Academy. Therefore, although the head strength is relatively strong, the real overall strength is relatively weak. But one thing I can guarantee is that all these commanders have been trained by me. They have a stronger awareness of the application of tactics and the observation of battlefield conditions than the average formal commander who has been there for several years. And because I have a mission from the Donghuang General Headquarters and cannot act with them all the time, I must need your cooperation. North Carolina listened to Qin Ji's explanation and couldn't help but look at Li Chenming. The rank of corporal on Li Chenming confirmed Qin Ji's statement. North Carolina chuckled and said, I think I have understood what Commander Qin Ji means. In other words, do you hope that our free ship girls will form deeper cooperation with other members of your fleet? Including but not limited to daily life patrolling, mission delegation, etc. Qin Ji nodded, that's indeed what I mean. North Carolina smiled and said, then I want to know something, what is the high-end combat power in Commander Qin Ji's fleet? You know that in 3 months, we will face the Siren Tide, so I want to know a definite answer. Qin Ji nodded and said to North Carolina, my fleet now has an awakened aircraft carrier girl, 3 to be precise, but the other 2 are temporarily unable to participate in the battle due to some reasons. But if the matter is urgent, all 3 awakened ship girls can participate in the battle, and depending on the intensity, there will be 14 awakened ship girls as backup. Hiss. North Carolina's eyes widened. Commander Qin Ji, are you sure you are right? She is an awakened ship girl, not an ordinary fully trained ship girl. Qin Ji smiled and said, I don't think I will lie to you on this issue. After all, we will live together in the future. We will never see you when we look up. Even if I lie to you now, you can easily find out later. So I don't have to. North Carolina nodded, I finally understand why the Donghuang General Headquarters and the Maritime Safety Administration sent you here. It turns out that the scary thing is not your fleet, but you. 17 awakened ship girls. Is this the number of awakened ship girls in one camp? Qin Ji smiled and shook his head, what our fleet lacks is just time. As long as we have enough time, I believe that the members of my fleet will not be weaker than others. Even though they have just left the Commander Academy, they have already experienced too many battles with me. The only thing they lack now is ship girls. I believe that with enough ship girls, their performance will not be worse than anyone else. North Carolina nodded, I also believe that the members of the fleet trained by you, a master tactician, will definitely inherit your merits. Then, on behalf of all the free ship girls, I agree to Commander Qin Ji's proposal. Qin Ji smiled and nodded. As for the specific matters, I will arrange for my deputy commander to discuss it with you. Our cooperation will begin from the moment we officially start moving here. North Carolina looked at Li Chenming next to him and nodded, no problem. Qin Ji turned to look at Li Chenming, then it's up to you to quickly communicate with them a specific implementation plan. After the communication is completed, implementation will begin. Yes, Commander Li Chenming answered neatly, and then walked directly forward to communicate and discuss with North Carolina and other ship girls. Qin Ji nodded to Li Chenjian, and the two of them walked towards the outside of the Free Ship Girl building. Coming outside the building, Li Chenjian looked at Qin Ji with a complicated expression. Do you really have so many awakened ship girls? Doesn't it mean that the commander's ship girls will basically not be awakened? I haven't heard of it until now. Which commander's fully trained ship girl has ever awakened? Qin Ji smiled and said, my ship girl's awakening is not a special case, because the Donghuang General Command is cooperating with the scientific research teams of the other 8 camps to conduct research on the ship girl's awakening, and now the research results have been published. And my ship girl awakened because of this research result. However, because this research is currently confidential, I cannot disclose the specific name and information to you, but I believe that in the near future, your fully trained ship girl may also awaken. Qin Ji's words may be true or false, but he did answer Li Chenjian's doubts, and the facts are as he said. Now that the ship exercise data has achieved breakthrough results and entered the mass production stage, so I believe the mental unit will also enter the mass production stage in the near future. At that time, not only Li Chenjian, but other commanders also had the ability to have awakened ship girls, but their strength was different. Li Chenjian suddenly realized, I see, I understand. I won't tell anyone about our conversation today. Qin Ji smiled and nodded, so let's continue the handover. When we complete the handover, I believe Li Chenming has come up with a specific plan. By then you can return to Donghuang continent, and we will start entering the duty phase. Okay, let's continue. Li Chenjian nodded. My ship girl, my world. Author, Huangming Mu. Chapter 424. Standing on the pier of the port, Qin Ji looked at the command fleet that was gradually leaving and couldn't help but smile. Li Chenjian? I hope I can meet them again in the future. It is inevitable that the place they are going to when they leave Sun and Moon this time is the front line, and Commander Qin Ji also has this meaning, so in the near future, you can still meet, and you will be on the front line by then, Wasp said to Qin Ji said. By the way, when are you leaving? Qin Ji asked Wasp. Wasp tilted his head and smiled, what? Commander Qin Ji doesn't want to see me that much. Qin Ji quickly waved his hand, I didn't mean that. Don't talk nonsense. Haha, it's just a joke. Don't mind, Commander Qin Ji, Wasp said with a smile, but what I can tell you is that I won't leave here for the time being, because the Maritime Safety Administration has ship girls in every port where it is stationed. The office is responsible for the handover between the Maritime Safety Administration and the fleet, so I will give you more guidance from today on. So that's what it looks like. I thought you came here just to take charge of our handover, Qin Ji suddenly said, but why didn't the Dark Owl fleet have any ship girls stationed in the Maritime Safety Administration before? It's stationed, but you didn't see it, Wasp said with a smile. When you and Commander Li Chenjian went to hand over, I went to hand over to the people from the Maritime Safety Administration. That's it, Qin Ji nodded. Prince Yujin looked at Wasp and said, the person you are talking about can't be that Aoba, right? Wasp smiled and said, as expected of Prince Yujin, you were able to discover me like this. Prince Yujin smiled and said, that King Yi has been following Li Chenjian since we got off the ship. Maybe others would think that she might be his ship's wife, but I feel that there is always something between them. As expected. Wasp nodded, this is natural. After getting along for a year or two, the cooperation is naturally relatively tacit, but since she is not my ship girl, I will definitely not have as close a relationship with my ship girl. So Commander Chin-Ji has decided whether to hand over the handover with the Maritime Safety Administration to you or me or to someone else. Chin-Ji smiled and said, you also know that I cannot focus entirely on the management of the fleet. The most important thing is that I need to complete tasks with other camps. So starting from tomorrow, I will leave the station and go to distant waters to attack. Regarding the handover with the Maritime Safety Administration, you can directly contact my deputy commander of the fleet, Li Chenming. Wasp smiled and said, understood. Director Kang Long already gave me instructions when I came here, so I will try not to trouble you on this point. Thank you very much. Chin-Ji nodded. At this time, he turned his head and looked at Belfast. Has everyone else been settled? Reporting to the master, the other commanders of the Grand Fleet have chosen their places to live and are now sorting them out. The other ladies of our fleet have also chosen their places to live and are sorting them out, Belfast said to Chin-Ji. Chin-Ji nodded, actually, I prefer it here. Each person has a high-rise building. This way, no matter how many ship girls we have in the future, we won't be afraid of the problem of accommodation. Haha, what the commander said is right, Guang Hui said with a smile. Then when will we summon some companions? Now there are no housing restrictions, and we can attack at any time, and we can start to expand the number of our fleet. Bar. Chin-Ji shook his head. Let's wait for a while and wait until we are familiar with the situation here before conducting a large-scale call for ship girls. By the way, how are the ship girls from the other 8 camps arranged? There are many buildings in the residential area, so it is more convenient for them to live next to the building where we live, Belfast said. That's good. Chin-Ji nodded, then let's go back. Although Li Chenjian and I have visited the entire station before, we haven't seen it in detail yet, so let's take a look again. Okay, all the ship girls nodded. Immediately, Chin-Ji and the ship girls came to the office area. They did not stop in other office areas, but went directly to the beacon detection room that Li Chenjian had just mentioned. As soon as they entered the door, everyone saw a large display screen on the wall of the room. What was displayed on the screen was the situation of Ryu Island and its surrounding sea areas. Is this beacon detection? Chin-Ji said while looking at the screen in front of him. Yes, Wasp nodded. In the sea area, in addition to regular patrol monitoring, we have also placed many beacons in the distance of the sea area. These beacons have the ability to collect enemy information, and are relatively small in size. They will not release any signals when they are not turned on, so it is very easy for the Siren fleet to ignore them. This is also our ability to master information about the entire sea area. Chin-Ji wondered, then why wasn't such a device used during the last Siren Tide? Wasp explained, that's because in the last few days of the Siren Tide, the direction where the Siren fleet gathered was relatively concentrated. If such a beacon detector is turned on, it will be easily discovered and destroyed by the Siren fleet, so there was no such beacon detection device turned on. But in normal times, the Sirens are not so concentrated. At this time, we can start to determine the position of the current fleet in the sea every once in a while. This is also the certainty that we can issue some urgent tasks. Otherwise, with the strength of the Siren fleet, even if we issue an emergency mission after an attack occurs in some places, by the time your commanders go to the rescue, the battle may have been over long ago. Chin-Ji nodded, I see. It seems like this is a very good thing for our station. That's right. Wasp nodded, pointed at the screen and said, you can look at this detector. When this small boat logo appears on it, it means that there is a Siren light mass production fleet near the area, and if there is this kind of heavily equipped ship sign indicates that there is a main type Siren mass production fleet near the area. If a sign similar to this aircraft carrier appears, it means that there is an aircraft carrier type siren mass production fleet near the area. And there are triangular symbols under each symbol. One symbol means that the siren fleet is a small siren fleet, and two symbols represent a medium-sized siren fleet. As for three symbols stacked up, it means a large-sized siren fleet. Sometimes several symbols will appear in an area at the same time, which means that the sea area is very dangerous, and there are a large number of siren mass-produced fleets in it, so special attention is needed. Qin Ji looked at the screen and couldn't help but nodded. That's great. Can this system cooperate with the radar on the command ship? Can. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My Ship Girl, My World. Author, Huangming Muji. Chapter 425. After leaving the beacon detection room, Qin Ji and the others went to other parts of the office area and became more familiar with the entire office area. During this period of time, other members of the fleet had also arranged their places to live and gathered in the office area one after another. Li Chenming also worked out a relatively complete and feasible plan with North Carolina, and the two of them came to the office area together. Seeing that everyone had arrived in the office area, Qin Ji asked his ship girl to go back and clean up the house, while he stayed to hold a meeting with all members of the fleet. Looking at the members of the fleet sitting on both sides of the conference room, Qin Ji smiled and said to everyone, "From now on, this place belongs to our Star Sea Fleet, so we must also shoulder the security here. And we have gone through such a long period of study at the Commander Academy just for this moment. Now that you are no longer students, you have grown into a qualified commander, so pay attention to the key points. I will not remind you anymore. Next, I will assign our tasks. I believe that after such a long time, you already know the identities of the ship girls who follow me, so I can clearly tell you now that I have some tasks with the 9 major camps, so in the next time, priority will be given to completing these tasks, while you will be responsible for patrols and commissions in the offshore waters, as well as the daily tasks of the Grand Fleet. So I will introduce you to 2 helpers first. The first one is Wasp from the Maritime Safety Administration. She will be responsible for the handover between our fleet and the Maritime Safety Administration. If you have anything you don't understand, you can always ask her questions. The second one is North Carolina, the free ship girl in this station. She is the most highly trained free ship girl in this station and is responsible for the cooperation between the free ship girl and our fleet. Following Qin Ji's introduction, the Wasps and North Carolina stood up one after another, and the others also clapped, and the scene was relatively harmonious for a time. After waiting for the applause to end, Qin Ji continued, "As for the cooperation with the Liberty ship girl, I have arranged for Li Chenming, the deputy commander of our fleet, to talk to North Carolina, and now we have come up with a relatively stable plan. Therefore, when you are on patrol and have commissions, you can go together with the free ship girls. This will not only increase your strength, but also learn some experience from their free ship girls. And you are also people who have experienced great wars, and everyone's tactical literacy is now good, so I hope you can complete this task, hone yourself as soon as possible, and make your fleet more powerful. So if anyone still has questions, feel free to ask them, and I'll explain them to you here." Chen Beijun raised his hand, and Qin Ji nodded to him. Chen Beijun stood up and said, "Commander, I would like to ask, that is to say, our subsequent patrols or commissions can be assisted by the Freedom ship, so during the operation, will they follow our arrangements, or will they carry out the tasks individually?" Qin Ji nodded and looked at North Carolina. "My opinion is that during patrols or entrusted tasks, only the ship girl needs to obey the deployment of the commander. If there is an instruction that the ship girl thinks is malicious, the ship girl can choose not to execute the command and exit. After returning, both parties must write corresponding reports and apply for arbitration. North Carolina nodded, I agree with Commander Chin Ji. Although we free ship girls have experienced a lot of battles, we have not cooperated with the commanders, so Commander Yu's fighting method is very correct. S choice. And I will tell them later that unless some unavoidable circumstances occur, as long as it is within the controllable range, all actions will be carried out in accordance with the instructions of the leader of the team. Chin Ji nodded, then looked at Chen Beijun, do you have any more questions? Chen Beijun shook his head, I have no problem for the time being. Wang Yukin raised her hands and stood up, Commander, where do we get the things we get after we complete the task entrustment? There are also things like material exchange, oil exchange, etc. Qin Ji looked at Li Chenming with a smile, I have handed over all these to the deputy commander. For task handover and the like, you can contact WASP. After that, WASP will collect the materials completed and report them to the Maritime Safety Administration. Someone from the Maritime Safety Administration sent people to deliver the supplies. The materials are then stored in the warehouse and handed over by the deputy commander and WASP. So when the time comes, you can just come to the deputy commander to collect it with the receipt of your completed mission. Regarding the special material exchange for the Grand Fleet, you will inform the deputy commander of your needs, and then the deputy commander will hand over the request to WASP, and then Hu Feng will make a material request to the Maritime Safety Administration, and it will be approved according to the same process. Wang Yukin suddenly realized it and looked at Li Chenming with a smile, so from now on, our deputy commander Li will become the general manager Li of our fleet. Everyone laughed together, and Li Chenming couldn't help but roll his eyes, although I am responsible for the handover, you will still need to help with transportation and the like, otherwise I will have to do the work alone. Zhang Xiaotian smiled and said, there is no problem. Supporting the deputy commander's work is an obligation for us. So where is the commander going? Wang Yukin asked Qin Ji. Qin Ji smiled and said, I am going to go to the erosion level 4C area. There will be more sirens and more enemies there, so that I can speed up the training and running in of my fleet girls. Everyone nodded, even North Carolina. After all, Qin Ji has so many awakened ship girls, wouldn't it be easy to invade the 4th level C area? In the subsequent meetings, many people also raised some doubts. The specific issues were in terms of tactical execution and emergency response. Qin Ji, WASP, and North Carolina all gave corresponding answers, which also gave everyone in the Grand Fleet full confidence in their future work. And on the spot, Li Chenming also announced the duty rules of the large fleet, as well as the patrol routes and directions, giving everyone a clearer understanding. After the meeting was disbanded, Zhang Xiaotian and Chen Beijun, who were the first group of patrol officers, gathered with the free ship girls who had left and started patrolling on duty. From this moment on, the duty patrol started, and everything was on the right track, which also meant that everyone in the Star Sea Fleet began to take over the work of the Dark Owl Fleet. After arranging everything, Qin Ji naturally returned to the original accommodation area where the commander was. After all, for him, after arranging the large fleet, he still needs to arrange his own fleet. My Ship Girl, My World. Author, Huangming Muji. Chapter 426. As soon as Qin Ji returned to the building, he saw a group of ship girls sitting in the lobby. They were not busy, but each holding a teacup, looking very comfortable. This situation made Qin Ji very confused. Have you finished cleaning the building? Have the rooms been arranged? At this time, everyone smiled, and Javelin quickly ran to Qin Ji and said, Commander, they had cleaned every room when they left, so when we came, we just cleaned our own things. It didn't take long to arrange it? Qin Ji laughed when he heard this. Oh, then we can still check in with our bags. Lingbao is checking in? It's almost ready, right? Javelin said to Qin Ji. Is everyone free? Qin asked with a smile. No. Javelin quickly shook his head and said, Sister Aurora went to plant roses in the garden next to her, Sister Helena followed her there, Sister Richelieu was praying, and Santiago and Osborne ran to the beach. It's time to play. Ayanamai and Bunker Hill sister were playing games in the room, Hai sister went to see the banquet hall, and Shinano sister and Rafi were sleeping. And that Zeppelin sat on the roof as soon as he arrived, and wouldn't come down no matter how he asked her. Qin couldn't help but feel ashamed. Everyone else was very normal, but Chi Bolin was a little abnormal. But let her sit on the roof, otherwise it would be better to tell those destroyers something to destroy the world and teach them bad things. So, Qin nodded, is there a conference room where we live? Yes, the person who answered Qin was not Javelin, but Bismarck, who was standing against the wall in the distance. Commander, are you preparing for a meeting? Qin nodded, yes, we have just arranged the affairs of the large fleet there. Now it is time to arrange the tasks of our fleet. Then let's go to the conference room and talk. Bismarck nodded and said to Qin. Qin looked at the people present and nodded, then let's go to the meeting. The leading flagships of each mixed fleet will come over, and the others can move freely. Following Qin words, Huanghui, Bismarck, and Veneto came over, while Javelin said to Qin, Commander, I'll call Sister Richelieu. Qin nodded, then I'll trouble Javelin. It's okay, Javelin said and ran away. Commander, if you don't mind, how about I go and observe, Peter Strasser said to Qin. Qin nodded, yes, it's not a confidential matter. If any of you want to participate, you can come over. Yes, several ship girls nodded with interest. After all, they had nothing to do sitting here. They might as well have a meeting with Qin and the others to discuss future countermeasures. After a few people arrived at the conference room, Richelieu appeared at the door not long after. As Richelieu took his seat, the army meeting officially began. The meeting of the fleet has just ended. Basically, they all know the sea areas they need to patrol and guard. And outside these sea areas, there are the goals of our fleet, Qin said to everyone. Currently, we are still following the previous formation in the academy, with me, Bismarck, Richelieu, and Veneto each leading a formation and heading towards the target sea area respectively. However, this time, since we will not be accepting too many entrusted tasks for the time being, the distance between our four fleets does not need to be too far. We should stay within the call range of the communicator, and then carry out patrols and attacks in the sea area. The purpose of this is that in the event of an emergency, we can complement each other's offense and defense, and help each other on guard. As Qin spoke, many ship girls nodded involuntarily. Don't think that the distance Qin mentioned is very close. In fact, it's not that close at all. After so many years of research by several major camps, the range of communication devices equipped on the ship's equipment can be contacted, and its reliable range is very large. For example, several camp envoys, ship girls, can contact their respective camps through proprietary equipment. Such communication can be achieved even without any blessing from satellites. Even though some of the communication equipment on the command ship is weaker than the communication equipment in the hands of the special envoy ship girl, basically, there is a coverage area of 100 kilometers. Therefore, when several fleets are superimposed on each other, the maximum operating distance can reach about 400 kilometers, which is not close at all. Moreover, the communication device on the Qin command ship is the latest type of communication device. It has a much wider range than the communication device on the general commander's ship, so it can basically cover the entire sea area with level 4 erosion. After that, I will use the communication device specially given to me by WASP to let her activate the beacon detector once a day to transmit to us the position of the Siren fleet in the sea. So although our configuration is the same as that in the Academy, we must do a good job preparation for a long battle at sea. Each time we go to sea, we keep it for about a week to a month, so that we can experience more battles and don't waste time on the road every day. When we were in college, we needed to ensure the basics of being in school every day, so we had to go back and forth every day, but now we don't need to. And this can not only quickly improve our training level, but also exercise our ability to continue fighting. Qin Ji said to everyone. Bismarck nodded. I understand what the commander means, which is to hope that we can quickly adapt to the intensity of this battle, and also be able to conduct enough battles and collect enough battle data to ensure that the planned ship can appear faster. Qin Ji nodded. That's true, so I hope everyone can understand. Veneto smiled. There is no understanding or disapproval of this. This is not only the commander, but also our common thing. I believe no one will refuse. It's just that after doing this, I have less time to spend with the commander, Lexington said from the side. Qin Ji smiled and shook his head. I don't think so. Now I am mainly with the royal ship girl because of the ship planning. After the planning key is completed, I will go to every fleet. And I think that since the royal family has a planned ship, then other camps will also have planned ships, so for you, there is no bias. All the ship girls couldn't help but smile. Lexington's question was considered to be in their hearts, but Qin Ji's answer was also answered in their hearts. After all, it is visible to the naked eye that Qin Ji and the royal ship girl spend too much time together, and their relationship is much better than that of the ship girl from other camps, so anyone will be a little jealous. Qin Ji's answer not only made them relieved, but also made them look forward to it. When will it be the turn of their own camp's planned ship girl? My Ship Girl, My World. Author, Huangming Muji. Chapter 427. Chapter 427. Take a day off and resume updating tomorrow. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My Ship Girl, My World. Author, Huangming Muji. Chapter 428. You guys are really energetic. Our room hasn't been tidied up yet, and you're ready to go out. Shi Kong looked at Qin Ji and said helplessly. Qin Ji smiled and said, don't you hope to complete our agreement as soon as possible and master your powerful combat power? Akage suddenly laughed, very wildly, ha ha ha, actually I feel good that we maintain this relationship. Because so far, I know more about you, and you know less about me. You can be sure, when I actually join your fleet, will I still be like this? Qin Ji was stunned for a moment. What else? Do you think you have another look? Jia on the side couldn't help but coughed and wanted to speak when he heard Qin Ji's inquiry. But at this moment, Shi Kong stretched out his hand to block her, and then smiled at Qin Ji with doubtful eyes. Haha, I am a very possessive person. If you see the real me then, you might not like it? Qin Ji looked at Shishin's sickly smile and couldn't help but shook his head. I don't know, but along the way, my ship girls and I have established a very deep bond, which I couldn't imagine before. And as we spend more and more time together, their personalities are slowly changing, so I believe that everything is not static, even if you are possessive Akage, even if you have other personalities, but I feel that as our time together slowly grows, there will definitely be a neutralization point. How to find that point is the direction for our joint efforts in the future. I respect you, I respect each and every one of you. Shi Kong couldn't help but was stunned when he heard Qin Ji's words, and then laughed. Did you know that you are very interesting? You always say these words seriously, but it is very difficult to refute. Haha, I am very much looking forward to the moment when I receive you and complete the agreement, and the moment when you and I really get along. Qin Ji nodded. I'm looking forward to it too, and there's one thing I want to tell you, that is, we will stay there for at least a week during this trip. We will not choose to return until the supplies where we are almost used up. So take a look and see if there is anything you need to prepare so that you don't have to leave and find no supplies at sea. Akagi nodded. A long voyage? I understand, but we don't need to prepare too many things. Shinji nodded. In that case, let's get ready to go. After he finished talking to Akagi and Kaga, he boarded the command ship under the watchful eyes of the ship's ladies, and Akagi Kaga followed him. After all the ship girls were ready, Shinji said to the other 3 groups of ship girls through the communicator on the bow, "Set sail." Yes. The voices of Bismarck, Veneto, and Richelieu came from the communicator. The 4 command ships anchored in the port also began to slowly start. After leaving the dock, they sailed in 4 different directions. The terminal position of the command ship where Shinji was located in the center of the 4th level erosion sea area. The endpoints of the fleets led by the other 3 ship girls are located at the edge of the sea area and to the right of the center. After all, Shinji considers that the royal ship girls he leads are the most highly trained and powerful group of ship girls in the fleet, so his area of activity will be larger. The average training level of the fleet led by Richelieu is relatively weak, so it moves to the right of the center, so that it can watch and help each other with Shinji's fleet. If Richelieu's fleet is in danger, Shinji can arrive in time. However, on his way to the eroded 4th level sea area, Shinji did not encounter any enemy fleet. The reason is precisely because the patrol of the large fleet has begun, so if enemies appear in the entire erosion level 3 sea area, they will be eliminated immediately. And when they approached the edge of the erosion level 4 sea area, they realized that the Siren fleet had appeared. So under Shinji's order, the battle began immediately. Because it is at the junction of the erosion level 3 and 4 sea areas, the enemy's training level here is not very high. With the strength of Shinji's 4 fleets, they easily broke through and reached the erosion level 4 sea areas. After reaching the sea area with erosion level 4, Shinji ordered the fleet to slow down. Let all the ship girls of the fleet enter the sea and advance while conducting reconnaissance. Compared to the sea area where Shenhua City is located, there are more Siren enemies in the sea area here. Often, shortly after destroying a Siren fleet, another Siren fleet is detected on the radar. Battles take place on the sea almost all the time, and sometimes Shinji's fleet will even encounter 2 Siren fleets together. Fortunately, among the royal ship girls he summoned, 4 of them were aircraft carriers alone, so they could ensure air superiority before the war began, otherwise the battle would have been extremely difficult. Moreover, after entering late at night, the Siren fleet on the sea did not stop to rest, but remained as active as during the day, so Shinji was in a state of sleep all night, ready to command new battles at any time. With such intense battles, Shinji's fleet was basically in a state of resting, facing the enemy, resting again, and facing the enemy again. Shinji and the others, who had just arrived in the erosion level 4 sea area, were not used to such an intensity of battle at first. After all, the sea areas they fought in before did not have as many enemy ships as they do now. However, after a few days, everyone recovered and adjusted. Face every battle with a silent attitude, and rest immediately after the battle is over. After the entire fleet had rested, it sailed in search of new enemies. Always keep the fleet in a state of high spirits, never advance rashly, and never fight an unprepared battle. In this way, the time at sea passed little by little, and the cooperation and attacks of the ship girls became more and more sharp. The aircraft carrier is often released after the enemy is discovered, and the carrier-based aircraft conducts the first round of bombing and seizing air supremacy. After that, the surface fleet quickly cuts and annihilates the enemy. With this momentum, the training levels of all Shinji's ship girls are increasing rapidly, and the combat data collected by the purple-red Rubik's Cube is also increasing rapidly. Moreover, Shinji discovered that under such fierce fighting, the battle data that was originally scheduled to be collected in about 3 years was collected in less than a week, which could have been collected in a month before. This discovery much to his surprise. Because, as long as we keep fighting like this, the ship girl in this mental Rubik's Cube will be born soon. My Ship Girl, My World. Author, Huangming Muji. Chapter 429. At this time, the sea was clear, and 4 command ships were moored side by side. Destroyers could also be seen patrolling from time to time around the command ship. I didn't expect that the oil consumption would be so fast. When we came here, the oil was obviously allocated according to 1 month's demand. Now, only 10 days have passed, and it is almost gone. At this time, Veneto was standing in front of Qin on the command ship, smiling and talking to Qin. It's the same over there. The oil consumption is very fast. It seems that our understanding of the erosion level 4 sea areas is still very limited. I didn't expect that it wasn't that our people couldn't support it first, but that the oil couldn't support it, Bismarck said somewhat helplessly. The fleet I lead still has sufficient oil reserves, probably because there are a few ship girls in my fleet who have not yet broken through. It can be spread out a little bit, Richelieu said. Qin nodded. It's similar here. Although Belfast brought an extra half-month's oil reserves before leaving, because glory is the reason for awakening the ship girl, more oil resources are needed. Based on daily consumption, the oil reserves I have here can only last for 2 days at most. It seems it's time to return to port. Otherwise, when the oil reserves are in short supply, we won't even be able to summon the ship equipment, Bismarck said to Qin. Qin nodded and smiled. Yes, actually, we have been fighting at sea for more than 10 days since we first came out. This time is already very good. The cooperation between Guanghui and the others is getting sharper and sharper, and the time it takes to annihilate a fleet is getting shorter and shorter. Moreover, the Centaur's training level has reached 90. If it continues to develop at this rate, it will soon reach full training level. Bismarck nodded. The situation is the same where I am, especially Peter and Zeppelin. The two of them quickly integrated into our tactical formation, and their training level also improved very quickly. So far, according to them, it is said that they have reached about 40 levels of training. A few submarines are slower, but they have reached more than 30 levels of training by now. The fleet I lead can be slower. After all, the people in my fleet are not the first batch. But until now, Bunker Hill and others in the fleet have a training level of almost 40, and the other people's training levels it's over level 60, Richelieu said. The fleet I led was okay. With Helena's help, it gave us battleships a lot of room to play. The overall training level has also improved a lot during this time, but I guess other commanders won't be as good as shall we rush in here like this, Veneto laughed. Qin nodded. It seems that you have all gained something, so that's good. Let's share the oil with each other in our fleets, collect enough oil to return, and then return to port together. It's been more than 10 days, and it's time to go back. With this experience, we know what we need to prepare the next time we come here. Yes, Veneto and the others nodded, confirming their next plan. So after the 4 fleets evened out the oil, they each returned to their respective command ships, using Qin command ship as their flagship, and sailed towards the port area. However, the journey back to the port area was not too peaceful. From the sea area with erosion level 4 to the level 3 sea area, there were at least 4 or 5 battles. We drove from the morning until the sunset, and then we returned to the port area. And when Qin took his ship's wife off the command ship and arrived at the dock, he saw a familiar figure standing there. Wasp? Why are you here? Qin unexpectedly said to the figure in front of him. Haha, Commander Qin, welcome back, Wasp said with a smile. Of course I am here to welcome you back. You have been out for more than 10 days as soon as you left. If I hadn't been here every day I'm updating you on the location of the beacon detection, but I thought something happened to you at sea. Qin smiled slightly. Aren't you eager to improve your own strength? By the way, how was the situation at the port station during my absence? Wasp rolled his eyes. You, the commander of the fleet, are a very hands-off shopkeeper. You actually asked a foreign resident of the Maritime Safety Administration about the situation where your fleet is stationed. Qin didn't feel embarrassed at all. Actually, I ask the same questions to other people, but since you appear here, I naturally have to ask you. Wasp laughed. Okay, then I'll tell you, a lot of things happened at the station during the 10 days you left. First of all, Akashi set up a grocery store here, which makes it much more convenient for you to buy things. Qin smiled slightly. He naturally knew why Akashi came here. After all, there is a sea legend named Bree in his fleet. If Mingshi doesn't have any ideas, it would be a lie. Secondly, the Maritime Safety Administration has transferred a group of free ship girls from other areas that are not too busy to supplement the number of free ship girls in the space, Wasp said to Qin. Oh? Is there such a thing? Qin said in surprise. I always thought that free ship girls were not restricted by the Maritime Safety Administration. It turns out that the Maritime Safety Administration can still deploy them. Of course, free ship girls are not restricted by the Maritime Safety Bureau, but they also work together with the Maritime Safety Bureau. Because our goals are the same, and free ship girls can also join the Maritime Bureau, so ordinary free ship girls are quite easy to talk to. Wasp smiled. Qin nodded. So how many free ship girls have been deployed this time? There are more than 30 people in total, including many aircraft carriers, which may have something to do with your deeds. Many of them were participants in the Siren Tide battle that you commanded in Zhenhua City before, Wasp said. Qin nodded. Haha, maybe it has something to do with it. After all, I use the tactics of aircraft carriers more often, so is there anything else? No more, Wasp smiled. You've only been out for a few days, how much do you think can happen? By the way, how do you feel about the erosion of the level 4C area? Qin smiled. It's not bad, the intensity is much stronger than in Zhenhua City, and the oil consumption is too fast. Originally, we prepared a month's worth of oil according to the standards in Zhenhua City, but it ended up being used up here in just over 10 days. Oh, you guys have been fighting all the time these days, right? You don't even have time to rest, right? Wasp said in surprise. My ship girl, my world. Author, Huangming Muji. Chapter 430. Qin quickly waved his hand. Of course not, it's just that after each battle, we rest immediately, and after the repairs are completed, we start a new battle again. The cycle repeats like this until we come back. Wasp showed a strange smile. If your ship girls don't trust you very much, then I would have reason to suspect that you are exploiting your ship girls. Qin face darkened, and the ship girls behind him also laughed. What do you mean by squeezing my ship girls? They obviously want to ensure sufficient combat power before starting a new round of battle, Qin said helplessly. Haha, let me tell you that if the general commander continues to fight outside for more than 10 days, he will take 1 or 2 days to rest to ensure that he and the ship girl will not be in a tight state. Although there are siren fleets in the sea, I will provide you with a beacon detection map every day. You can refer to that map to find a safe place to park and rest. But you didn't use it properly at all. You just regarded that picture as your goal, so that your fleet kept moving towards the siren fleet marked in the picture to start a new battle. That's why I say that you are a ship girl who is squeezing you, but I am always an outsider. For an aggressive commander like you, maybe what you did is not wrong, but I suggest that after a tense battle, it is better to take a day or 2 to rest. Wasp said to Qin. Qin nodded and said with a wry smile, this is our first time going to sea, so there are many things we don't know much about, so going out this time is more about accumulating experience. As for what you said, we will do it later. I don't want to be known as someone who exploits my own ship girl. Okay, that's good, you know. Wasp smiled, let's just go back and rest. It's getting dark now. Let's do a battle report tomorrow. Shinji nodded, then I'll trouble you, Wasp. As the conversation between the two ended, Shinji took his ship girl and walked towards the residential area. Naturally, I met several commanders and shipwives of the large fleet on the way. They greeted each other and did not stay long. They also knew that Shinji had just come back and needed some time to rest, so they didn't ask any questions. After returning to their dormitory building, everyone tidied up a little and then washed up and rested early. Although the living place has changed, the originally arranged room has basically remained unchanged. Shinji was still in the farthest room on the second floor. Opposite him was Guanghui, and next to him was the centaur. However, because the building here is much larger than the guest house, there are more rooms on the first floor than there. Therefore, Bismarck and Richelieu, the two ship girls who arrived later, also moved to the second floor. The specific reason is also very simple, that is, they can find Shinji at any time if anything happens. Ayanami moved up and lived with several destroyers. The reason is that Javelin believed that Ayanbo was surrounded by big sisters and that such an environment made Ayanbo uncomfortable, so he took it upon himself to move Ayanbo next door to her. Next to the destroyers were several submarines, and, yes, there was also the light cruiser Santiago. Originally she was going to live next door to Helena, but Prince Eugen thought her singing was too noisy and kicked her out. However, this is in line with Santiago's wishes. There are several destroyers nearby, and he can play with them when the time comes. When Shinji woke up early in the morning, he insisted on his daily morning run while watching. When I returned to the building after my morning run, I saw a familiar figure standing with Cai Brie. I'm telling you, after you go to our store, you can play with your sister every day, meow. A short figure said to Cabri furtively. As soon as Shinji heard the familiar meow, as well as the iconic green hair and ears, he knew who the person in front of him was. So Shinji quietly walked over, stood behind Akashi and coughed, I haven't seen Akashi for a few days, and I suddenly found out that you abducted me, a ship girl, in my fleet. Meow. Akashi was startled when he heard Shinji's voice. He turned around mechanically and looked at Shinji, who was smiling slightly, with an unnatural expression on his face. I'm scared to death, Commander Shinji, are you the one who can't even make a sound when walking? Akashi asked Shinji in surprise, and kept tapping his chest with his long sleeves, indicating that he was scared just now. Haha, I make a sound when I walk, and you don't look like you're scared, but you look like you're guilty of committing a crime, Shinji said with a smile. It's nothing, meow. I'm not a thief with a guilty conscience. No, I'm not a thief in the first place, Akashi defended hurriedly. Really? Shinji smiled slightly, then looked at Cabri. Cabri, what did Akashi say to you just now? Did he ask you to go to his store? Cabri nodded. Buren Akashi said that my sister is in her store, and she wants to take me to find her to play Buren. Shinji smiled and nodded, then turned to look at the stunned Akashi, so what else do you have to say now? This is the ship girl who abducted the commander in an upright manner. I can directly go to the military police to prosecute you. Meow. No. Don't sue me. Meow just invited Cabri to play in my store, not abduction, meow, Akashi said in a panic. Shinji smiled and said, after Cai Li goes, you can study her in the name of taking her there, right? Meow. How did you know? You spilled the beans, meow. Akashi immediately covered his mouth and shook his head towards Shinji. Shinji couldn't help but smile. Besides this, what else are you going to ask Cabri to do? Seeing that the matter had been revealed, Akashi became dejected and said to Shinji, "Your fleet will not take her with you anyway. Instead of leaving her alone in this building, why not go to my store to help me out? I still have her sister there, so I can play with her, and I can also study the differences between legendary class ship girls and ordinary ship girls. And study the difference between her and Shinano. Maybe in the future you can find out how to build a legendary level ship girl at sea, so that you can build more legendary level ship girls at sea." Shinji couldn't help but nodded. "It turns out that I had this idea. I can let Kabri go to your store with you, but I have a request." Meow. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My Ship Girl, My World. Author, Hwangming Muji. Chapter 431. Shinji looked at the confused Akashi in front of him and said, "How about all the ship girls after me break through without supplies?" Meow. "This is impossible, meow." Akashi immediately became furious, jumping and saying to Shinji. Shinji rolled his eyes. "Didn't you say before that all the breakthrough funds were for Bree? I think my kindness to reunite the three sisters is enough to withstand these materials, or are these materials? Did you make money?" Akashi was suddenly embarrassed. No, I just said it for Bree, Naya." Shinji smiled and said, "Then let's go to your store together. I believe they would agree if they knew." Akashi's expression was ugly at the moment, because Shinji on the other side was telling the truth. If the two braids in his store knew that their sister could come over, they would definitely be willing to help Shinji break through all the ship girls. After all, breaking through a ship girl is nothing more than a trivial matter for them. As for the funds obtained from breaking through the ship girl to be given to Bree, that statement was purely a lie by Akashi. Because the contract signed by Akashi and Bree was that she provided for the two sisters to eat, drink and live every day, and ignored the two sisters who needed to break through the ship girls who came to the store. Therefore, the Bree sisters are purely working, and they have no income at all. All the profits were taken away by Akashi, so after Shinji said this condition, it was equivalent to sucking Akashi's blood. Akashi looked at Shinji's expression in front of her, as if she had seen through everything. She knew that she couldn't escape this time. If she didn't choose to earn so much money in the future, she would never have the chance to abduct Kabri into the store. Either choose to give up earning Shinji's money, and you can get the purple and gold three-color Bree sisters. After a short period of thinking, Akashi finally nodded with difficulty to Shinji. "Meow, you won, meow." Shinji smiled slightly, then turned to look at Kabri. "Kabri, then when you have nothing to do, go to Akashi's store to help, and we will go out often in the future and won't come back for a long time. You alone, it's still a little too lonely to stay here." Kabri nodded. "Buren." "Okay, Buren." After listening to Kabri's answer, Shinji turned to look at Akashi, who was losing blood, and said with a smile, "That's it, you take Kabri back first. I will take Kabri back later today. The ship girl I need to break through goes to your grocery store." "Okay, meow." Akashi nodded and said, looking at Kabri in front of her. She breathed a sigh of relief. After all, compared to losing so much money, she finally turned Kabri over. It can be regarded as a kind of gain. "See you later." Shinji smiled, waved to Kabili beside him, and walked upstairs. At this time, Akashi immediately pulled Cai Bewley away, fearing that Shinji would regret it. After arriving upstairs, Shinji found that Belfast was already waiting in his room. When the master just came up, he should have seen Akashi, right? Belfast said with a smile. Shinji nodded. "Yes, I asked Kabri to go to Akashi's grocery store. Anyway, she is not of much use to us now, and each of our attacks takes many days. Leave her alone, she's bored here too." so why not let her go find her two sisters? Belfast smiled slightly. I don't think the master would arrange it like this, so I didn't let anyone else drive Akashi away. Shinji smiled, walked to Belfast, and hugged her gently. I find that you understand me more and more. If you continue to do this, I really feel that I will be unable to leave you in the future. Belfast said with a bright smile, my master, isn't it the moment I walked out of the builder that the two of us have been inseparable from each other for the rest of our lives? Shinji smiled and nodded, indeed, then I'll go wash up first. Yes, my master. After washing and eating, Shinji did not immediately take his ship girl to Akashi's grocery store to make a breakthrough. Instead, he walked to the office area, found Li Chenming, and asked everyone in office to hold a meeting. In fact, the main purpose of this meeting is to understand some of the conditions in the sea areas around the recent station, and to explain to the commanders the situation in the erosion level 4 sea areas. Then there are some things happening in the port area and the deployment of the fleet in the future. Since none of them are serious people, the meeting progressed very happily. After the meeting was over, Shinji stayed with Li Chenming. Next time when you apply for supplies from the Maritime Safety Administration, apply for more oil, Shinji said to Li Chenming. Is the erosion level 4 sea area so expensive for oil? Li Chenming looked confused. Shinji couldn't help but cough dryly. Actually, the sea area with erosion level 4 consumes slightly more oil than the sea area with erosion level 3. Because there are more siren fleets in it than in the sea area with erosion level 3, so the frequency is also higher, which consumes more oil. But I didn't know it clearly the first time I went there, and because I was thinking about working hard to improve the training of my fleet, the frequency of battles was very high. So I carried a month's supply of oil, but it ran out in more than 10 days. Li Chenming was stunned, and then he smiled bitterly. Commander, I know you are under a lot of pressure, but don't be so desperate. Moreover, those ship girls are all delicate and beautiful girls. Do you have the heart to let them fight without sleep? Shinji coughed dryly. I am quite impatient myself, and Veneto's thinking is quite fast and he is eager to conquer that sea area, so the intensity of the battle is also relatively high. Not to mention Bismarck, the iron-blooded ship girls she led under her were all militants. Especially Zeppelin. After Bismarck told her that she could let go of the fight, she didn't want to stop for a moment. Richelieu was better, so she had a lot of oil left. Li Chenming was speechless. No wonder those books say that the iron-blooded camp is more radical, that's how it turns out to be. I understand what the commander is thinking. I will declare resources to the Maritime Safety Administration in the next few days. When the time comes, I will apply for more oil, which will allow you to continue fighting in the erosion level 4 waters. Shinji smiled and said, then it's up to you. By the way, you can count whether there are any ship girls in our fleet who need to break through. I'm going to Akashi's place to break through the ship girls in the afternoon. Let's go together then. It's free. For free. Is there anything else? Li Chenming said excitedly. My Z1 has been stuck in the third breakthrough stage and has no supplies to break through. Moreover, Saratoga needs to break through, and the ship girls of several other members also need to break through. Then let's get together then. Okay, it's decided. My ship girl, my world. Author, Huangming Muji. Chapter 432. When Shinji took the commanders of his fleet and the ship girls to Akashi's grocery store, Akashi's eyes straightened. Commander Shinji, you clearly said you were alone before, why did you bring so many people here? Akashi pointed at Shinji and said. Shinji smiled and said, they are all breakthroughs anyway. Breaking through the ship girl who broke through me alone is also a breakthrough, and breaking through the ship girl who broke through a group of people is also a breakthrough. And it is the Bree sisters who came to break through. I believe they are very willing to do so. Akashi was furious. Commander Shinji, You are too aggressive. Qin Ji smiled and said, so can we break through now? Meow. Looking at the smiling Qin Ji in front of her, Akashi felt powerless. She felt that she was so powerless facing the Qin Ji in front of her. She had broken so many principles for him now, but in the end she still had to press harder and harder. You win, meow. Looking at the powerless Akashi in front of him, Qin Ji smiled slightly and said, haha, isn't that great? Anyway, the breakthrough will only take a while, so it won't be much trouble. Stop talking about meow, I want to meow quietly, Akashi said. Qin Ji touched his nose. Although a trace of guilt emerged in his heart, facing the temptation of a free breakthrough, Brother Qing chose to suppress that trace of guilt. Okay, Akashi has spoken. We can make a breakthrough here, so now you can line up one by one to find Bree, Qin Ji said. Yes, Commander. The members of the large fleet didn't know why Akashi was so aggrieved, but being able to break through at this moment was better than anything else, so they didn't care about it anymore, and took their ship girls to look for Bree in the room inside. It didn't take much time to break through all the ship girls in the fleet. Qin Ji's own ship girl also achieved a breakthrough, and the overall strength of the fleet was greatly improved. After leaving Akashi grocery store, Qin Ji did not return to the office area, but chose to walk to his room. Today's main tasks have been completed. Naturally, I will have a good rest for a day or two when I come back. When all the oil and material reserves are in place, I can continue to the erosion level 4C area. So after spending a few days with all the ship girls, the oil from the Maritime Safety Administration was again in place, and Qin Ji's new round of sea battles began again. This time he went out to prepare 2 months of oil consumption. After all, he suffered a loss after preparing for a month last time. It would be better to prepare more this time so that he could stay outside for a longer period of time and improve his ship as much as possible. Level. And Qin Ji plans to continue to further expand his fleet when he comes back this time. Because what we are facing next is the Siren Tide. Although the Siren's main attack direction is not here, it will still be affected here, so it must be equipped with sufficient combat power. The same rhythm as last time, but this time the ones following Qin Ji were not Akagi and Kaga, but Hei's counter-attack from the royal family. It happened that the main ship girls led by Qin Ji were all from the royal family, so everyone was extremely happy to get along with each other. As the battle continued, more battle data was collected in the purple Rubik's Cube. A significant increase in combat data can be seen almost every day, which means that this abandoned planned ship girl will soon be summoned. As the sun sets and the moon rises, time on the sea passes quickly and slowly. Compared with the first time Qin Ji took the fleet to sea, this time he chose to avoid unnecessary battles at night. Therefore, except for the ship girls who are on patrol and on duty to check the radar at night, basically all other ship girls can have a very good rest. And he himself can rest well. After all, under the care of Belfast and Glory, he will not be too tired. However, the weather at sea is not so good every day. Storms, cyclones, violent storms, and even typhoons are very normal. On the 14th day when Qin Ji's fleet went out, dark clouds suddenly covered the sea. Dark and deep clouds covered it, and the storm came violently. Looking at the storm outside the command ship, Qin Ji stood inside the command ship and stared at the radar closely. I didn't expect to encounter such bad weather suddenly. It seems that our combat plan will have to be suspended for a while, Qin Ji said. Commander, are you preparing to evacuate here? Guang Hui asked, standing next to Qin Ji. Qin Ji shook his head. I'm afraid we won't be able to evacuate now. According to the display on the weather radar, the direction of this typhoon is the direction we are retreating from, so now we are notifying several other fleets to find a safe place, take shelter from the storm for a while. Yes, Commander. The Centaur nodded quickly, picked up the communication equipment on the command ship, and began to notify other fleets. Not long after, she reported to Qin, "Commander, because of the strong electromagnetic interference from the storm, they should have received the signal we sent, but we did not receive the signal they sent." Qin nodded, "After all, our command ship is specially built. This is understandable. I hope they can receive our signal and escape this storm." Guanghui smiled, "Don't worry, Commander, we have never encountered a storm like this before. I believe they will find a safe place and survive this storm. But more than them, we need to escape to a safe place now. A more violent typhoon will soon come." "Yes." Qin nodded and said to Belfast, who was sailing the ship, "Belfast, according to the monitored storm direction, move forward into the wind and reduce the speed. As for the siren just discovered, there is no need to chase it for the time being." "Yes, there is no need to fight in such a bad stormy weather." "Yes," Belfast responded immediately and began to turn the rudder to maintain the direction of the command ship. Qin then said to Javelin, Aurora, and other pioneer ship girls, "Javelin, Shungqing, enthusiastic, you go check the hull of the command ship, and report it immediately if there is any damage." "Yes, Commander," the Javelin said in response. Seeing the people leaving, Qin frowned and stared at the sea in front of him. "That's all we have to do." Guanghui smiled and said, "Commander, don't worry, we have faced so many storms and waves, and we will get through it safely this time, because Guanghui is not in front, but by your side." Qin couldn't help but smile after hearing this. "It's true. The glory is not in front of me, because she has always been by my side." While Guanghui and Qin were talking, suddenly the centaur on one side said, "Commander, there is an abnormal signal ahead and is coming towards us at an extremely fast speed." "What?" Qin looked at the centaur in surprise.